Hi, I'm Sharon. Welcome to my theory tuition series where we're working together step by step through each of the ABRSM theory grades. There are lots of resources available to help you on my website. If you go to sharonbill.com, you'll find some free PDF information sheets and you can download those in US letter or A4 and they accompany each step of this series. You'll find a page there with links to all of my YouTube video tutorials, and you can also find information about the books that I have available. I've written an exam technique guide, how to take your ABRSM Music Theory Exam. It's full of tips and hints on how to best prepare for your exam and also how to make the best use of your time on exam day when you're working through your exam paper. So if you go to sharonbill.com, you'll find it's all there. If you can give me a like, that would be really super, and please do subscribe to my channel to keep updated. And now we're going to continue with the paper A of the 2014 past papers for grade 4. Now we completed question 1 in the first video, and so if we carry on with this paper, so on question 2 we have the option for writing a rhythm or a rhythm to words. However, we're going to skip this page completely because from 2018 onwards this question no longer appears on the exam paper, so we can just jump right ahead and move on to question 3. So if you turn with me to page 4, we can now start question 3. So question 3 has questions referring back to this little extract of music again. Now I always recommend that you have a go of this yourself. It doesn't matter if you go wrong, it's always better to learn by your mistakes. Always write in pencil even on exam day, and then you can just rub out and have another go if you make a mistake. So I'm hoping you've had a go of this, and now we'll work through this together. Now here again we see a slight change in the way the questions will be presented to you. From 2018 onwards, these musical terms will be presented to you in multiple choice format. However, I recommend that you just go ahead and give these a go at giving them the definition. It's always a good revision tool to do that. And so I'll just go through these with you. So assez means enough. Or I suppose you could say sufficiently or sufficient. So there we go. And this one, not tricky to guess, animé means animated. Or I guess you could say lively, that would do. And so on the new exam papers, you'll just respond to the options that are given to you. So let's move on to the next question. So now we're asked to give the technical names to the 2 notes in bar 6 marked X and Y here. We're told helpfully that the key is A major, and so that will help us. And so first of all, I'm just going to sketch out the steps of the scale. Don't worry about the sharps because your key signature will do that. C, D, E, F, G, A. There's an octave, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So let's have a look. So here X is a B, so I'm just going to sketch that there, and then Y is a D. So here we know that X is a B, which is the second degree of the scale. Alternative, you can just count up from an A. A is 1, so B is 2. And then if you remember, the technical name for the second degree of the scale is the supertonic. It's above the tonic. There we go. And if Y is a D, that's the 4th. And so the 4th is the subdominant, the lower dominant. Just by chance as well, it also means it's below the dominant, but that's not the original reason why it's called that. It's because it's the lower dominant. If you count down 5 from the tonic, it will give you this note here. So counting up 4 or back 5, and that's why it's called subdominant. There we go, so that's enough to answer those. Now then, let's look at this next question. we're told that a square bracket has been drawn over the first phrase, and we can see that here. And then we're asked to mark all the other phrases in the same way. Now here we've got a nice complete 4 bars with no anacrusis, no upbeats. It's literally just 4 full bars for that phrase, and so we can pretty much guess that each of the next phrases will be 4 bars in length as well. Complete full bars. So we can start from here. So bar 1, bar 2, bar 3, bar 4, and that long note also corresponds and shows us the nice ending of a section. So I'm just going to draw my line here and just make it obvious that it extends over beyond this bar line to here, just to make it really clear that I know it extends over the break at the end of the page. And then here 1, 2, 3, 4, we can see that that matches again. So starting from here, ending at this last bar, we can see we've got 4 full bars. So that all mathematically matches up, and we can see musically as well the end of each section is quite obvious. So there we go, that was nice and easy. Let's carry on. So we're asked to name the major key that uses all of the notes of bars 9 to 10. So let's have a look what clue we've got. We've got a key signature of F sharps, C sharps and G sharps, but in bars 9 and 10 we can see that 9 shows us a change and we lose this G sharp, and we're left with just F sharps and C sharps, and we're asked which major key that is, and we know that D major has a key signature of F sharps and C sharps, just 2 sharps, and so that's D major. A little bit of maths now. We're asked how many demi-semiquavers or 30-second notes is the last note of the melody worth. Here, this note here. Now my maths is not great, and I always find it easier to diagram out these. So just because we're working in demi-semiquavers or 30-second notes, that's going to be quite a lot of divisions. I'm just going to work it out in a 1 beat, a crotchet or a quarter note, and then multiply it by 2 to find the 2 beat equivalent. So we know that 1 crotchet divides into 2 quavers or 2 eighth notes, which divides into 4 semiquavers or 16th notes, and then if we divide again we can see it's going to be 8 demi-semis. Got a bit awry there. There we go, so that's 8, and that's for 1 crotchet beat's worth. Here we've got a minnings beat, which is twice that, so if we multiply by 2, we know that 8 times 2 is 16, and so that gives us the equivalent of demi-semis or 30-second notes of the last melody. There we go. So the next question is just a little bit of observation. We're looking how many times does this rhythm occur. We've got 2 semis and then a quaver, 2 16th notes and then an 8th note. So let's have a look. Just at a glance we can see it happens here, so there's 1. It happens here. The pitch isn't what we're looking at, it's just the rhythm. It happens again here, not yet. Happens again here, and it happens again here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 occurrences of that rhythm. So there we go. Let's look at this next question then. So we're asked to rewrite bars 10 to 12 using notes of twice the value. So let's look, bars 10 to 12, but we need to double the value of each note, and we need to show a new time signature to reflect that. So first of all, let's deal with the time signature. So here we've got 2 beats and a bar, and each beat is a quarter note or a crotchet beat, and so we need to make sure that we stay in duple time, so 2 beats and a bar. However, in this case we're going to double it so that everything becomes a minim or a half note. So I've literally doubled the unit value, and so to show that in numbers, our time signature is 2 over 2, 2 half notes, 2 minim beats per bar. And now we need to think about how we're going to double all of the note values. So bars 10, 11 and 12, we double the note values by losing a beam, losing this beam. So these all become crotchets or quarter notes, lose a beam again, they become crotchets, lose a beam here, and so these two will become quavers, this one will become a crotchet, and then this one here, we lose the stem and that becomes a semi-breve. So let's just get the notes in place so we know everything's in the right place. So I've just got to glance up to the top of the page. So I'm just going to get the note heads in place. So I know I can colour these note heads in because all I'm doing is losing the beam. So again, I know I'm alright colouring these note heads in because all I'm doing is losing the beam or the tail as it were, and then here I won't colour it in because it was a minim or a half note and now it's going to double up to a semi-breve. So just stems down, but no need to join those because they are now crotchet beats or quarter notes after being quavers or eighth notes, so they can just have stems. These also can just have stems. This next two though were semi-quavers or 16th notes, and then we're just going to lose one of those beams and they become quavers or eighth notes. This one just has a stem, and then this one stays as it is because we've gone from a minim to a semi-breve. There we go, that's that question done for this page. But if we turn over the page to page 5, we just need to continue onto this next section with just a little bit of general orchestral information. So let's see what we've been asked here. So we're asked to name 2 standard orchestral instruments, 1 string and 1 woodwind, that would normally use the treble clef that could play this melody, that it sounds at the same pitch. So we're looking for a treble clef string instrument and a treble clef woodwind instrument that can play in the treble clef up this higher register here. So the string instrument would be the violin. That's the highest of the string family that plays in treble clef. Now the woodwind, we have several options here. Flute is one option that plays in treble clef in that high register. So also does clarinet, and so also does oboe. So we've got a woodwind instrument here in each of these. This is non-reed, this is single reed, this is double reed, just out of general information, and they are all quite comfortable in the treble clef, that's their chosen clef, and they're quite comfortable in this higher range here. So that's that done. So now answer true or false to each of the following statements. A cellist may sometimes be asked to play consort. Well, yes, that means with mute, and actually that is true. A string mute is something that's placed on the bridge just to dampen the strings. In a brass instrument, that's kind of like shoving a sock in it, as it were. However, here it's something that's placed on the bridge just to dampen the strings. Now we're also asked here, is a bassoonist sometimes asked to play pizzicato? Well, pizzicato means pluck the strings, and as a bassoon is not a string instrument but it's a woodwind instrument, that's not possible, and so that's false. There we go. And then just generally speaking, we're asked to name a standard orchestral brass instrument that would usually use the bass clef. Well, the obvious choice there, I think, is tuba. I guess also you could say trombone. Either of those would play in bass clef. Or I guess you could even go further and you could say bass tuba or bass trombone. The principle remains the same. Any one of those answers will suffice. So that's the end of that question. We'll look at the next question in the next video. I hope this is helpful to you. I hope you're enjoying it. I'm certainly enjoying working through it with you. If you are, and you can give me a like, that would be really fab. And please do subscribe to my channel to keep updated. There's lots more to come. And please also do visit sharonbill.com and make use of all of the resource and information that's available there to help you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.